1961. South Korea is one of the poorest countries in the world. With a GDP per capita of less than $100, it lags behind African nations like Nigeria, Cameroon, and Chad. Believe it or not, South Korea is even poorer than North Korea. The country has no agricultural products or natural resources, and it survives almost entirely on American aid. Electricity is only available for a few hours per day. For the rest of the time, people live in darkness. In schools, children eat powdered milk provided by Western donors. And when they don't have that, their parents feed them with boiled grass. After the Korean War, General Douglas MacArthur famously declared, "Korea has no future. This country will not be restored even after 100 years. 70 years later, South Korea has proven General MacArthur wrong. It is now one of the world's top 15 economies, with Seoul welcoming its visitors with vibrant neon lights, luxury cars, and towering skyscrapers. Brands like Samsung, LG, Hyundai, and Kia have become symbols of national pride. So how did South Korea go from surviving on boiled grass to dominating global markets with K-pop, cars, electronics, and skincare products? The World Bank often points to market-friendly policies as a key factor. But that is not the whole story. In this video, we will uncover the real causes behind South Korea's economic miracle. Causes that are often overlooked by foreign observers. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to Asia Explained, our new channel on Asia's economics, politics, history, and culture. Now, on to our story. There is a starting date for South Korea's economic transformation, and that date is May 16, 1961. On this day, a local general named Park Chung-hee seized power through a military coup. Born into a poor peasant family, Park was surprisingly well educated, an avid reader of history, and obsessed with understanding how powerful countries like Germany and Japan achieved economic success. During World War II, Park served in the Japanese Imperial Army in Manchuria. Then he learned crucial lessons about how military forces could drive economic growth, something that shaped his vision for the future. But the reality he faced at home was starkly different from Manchuria. South Korea was a broken nation, with problems that seemed impossible to solve. Park even reflected in one of his diaries, "I had the feeling I had accepted the affairs of a bankrupt company." Park had no intention of giving up. He had a clear plan in mind. South Korea would not be a puppet state reliant on American aid. It would rise as a strong and prosperous nation led by a stable military government. He was, after all, one of Asia's so-called developmental dictators, much like Taiwan's Chiang Kai-shek and Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew. But it is important to understand that his development strategy was the result of four major factors. 1. State capitalism. 2. Export discipline. 3. Low welfare spending. 4. Societal resilience. Let's see them one by one. Number 1. State capitalism. In 1961, just 12 days after his coup, General Park took action. At dawn, he ordered the arrest of 51 corporate leaders, including the heads of major companies like Samsung and LG. By arresting them, Park made his message clear. South Korea's businessmen could no longer focus on their own profit alone. If they wanted their freedom back, they now had to contribute to national development. Big companies were required to build factories in sectors vital for national growth, like cement, electricity, synthetic iron, and oil refining. This essentially was a state-led industrialization through coercion. A dictator forcing his business elite to align with his national development plans. Strange as it may seem, it worked. The business elite had no other choice but to comply, and metallurgical plants started to spring up everywhere across South Korea, with intense steel production laying the ground for rapid growth in shipbuilding, automobiles, and electronics. Meanwhile, state-led financial support was also crucial to this success. The government nationalized banks and provided companies with subsidies, cheap loans, and even land, offering interest rates as low as -10%, basically paying companies just to borrow money. Park's developmental strategy might seem hard to grasp, especially for foreign observers. In an era dominated by Western laissez-faire and neoliberalism, the idea of a dictator playing such a central role in directing industrialization may seem pure madness. But to South Korean policymakers, it made perfect sense. Unlike the West, Park and his team were less influenced by economic thinkers like Adam Smith and preferred to learn from a lesser-known German economist named Friedrich List, who advocated for regulated capitalism. In essence, List believed that developing economies need strong government intervention to nurture local industries until these could survive on their own. So rather than pure market forces, Park's South Korea embraced a form of state-led capitalism, and that worked. Number 2, export discipline. State support came with strings attached. Companies receiving aid had to compete on global markets. For example, South Korea automakers received cheap loans and subsidies, but in turn they were required to export their vehicles abroad and face foreign competition. Then they had to report their results to the government so that state officials could decide which companies deserved assistance and which ones did not. Rapidly, underperformers were phased out, while successful companies like Hyundai and Kia continued to receive support. This is a quite intelligent practice known as export discipline, through which Park basically created a sort of ultra-competitive, quasi-Darwinian environment, a process of natural selection, where companies would continue to get help from the state only if they proved they deserved it. By competing with foreign giants, these companies had to constantly improve and innovate their products. And this is how the Chaebol, a Korean word for large industrial groups like Hyundai, Samsung, and Lot, eventually became key global brands respected by everyone in the world. Number 3, low welfare spending. Another key factor behind South Korea's remarkable success was the government's decision to delay the development of its welfare system. While most developed countries typically spend 40 to 50% of their GDP on welfare, South Korea kept its spending below 20%. In this way, rather than allocating money to pensions, healthcare, and social support, Park's government invested in infrastructure like roads, highways, bridges, and ports, with the goal of further fueling industrialization. This approach was consistent with South Korea's Confucian values, where caring for the weak and the elderly is seen primarily as a family duty rather than a government responsibility. As a result, families did not rely much on pensions and social support. They were the ones taking care of their loved ones, while the government could focus on transforming the country into an industrial powerhouse. Number 4, societal resilience. Confucian values also instilled a culture of discipline, perseverance, and sacrifice within Korean society. These characteristics played a crucial role in how the population responded to the demands of rapid industrialization. During the 60s and 70s, millions of South Koreans worked long hours in factories for low wages. A striking example is the thousands of women who left the countryside to work 12 to 14 hours per day in tough conditions to produce goods like wigs, textiles, and toys that would then be exported to Western markets. General Park's policies depended heavily on this societal resilience. He counted on the population's willingness to endure hardship for the collective good of the nation, a strategy that made life difficult for millions of people, but that ultimately led the country from poverty to prosperity. Now, Park's legacy is a complex one. During his 18 years in power, South Korea's economic growth was implemented in an authoritarian manner. Freedoms were restricted, and businesses were forced into complying with government policies. Yet at the same time, Park also transformed a nation poorer than North Korea into one of the world's top 15 economies, offering valuable lessons for other developing countries. His model combined government intervention, a relentless focus on exports, minimal spending on welfare, and ultimately the determination of the people to endure hardships. Today in Seoul, not far from the Blue House, people can still see Seodaemun, a small prison squeezed between a park and some high-rise buildings. It is there that General Park locked up some of his entrepreneurs in 1961, an unassuming prison that marks the beginning of South Korea's economic miracle. It is a reminder of the paradoxes of history. But for now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights into Asia's most fascinating economic stories, just like this one. See you in the next video.